Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Remember to vote in the poll and like and subscribe for extra time next time you play. Maybe. Today we're building Samurai Jack, whose name might give you a hint as to what kind of build this will be, but that shouldn't stop you from watching the video. If you click a video about making your own pasta, you wouldn't stop watching because they made pasta. Basically what I'm saying is, would you guys watch me make pasta? I want to start a cooking show. Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, we need to be good with a sword, and a bow, and actually every conceivable weapon that exists in past, present, and future. But specifically, we need a magical sword forged by the gods, or at the very least, blessed by them. Finally, we'll make sure that we can fight while keeping it light, wearing something that will make people say, "Gee, that looks swell." For stats, we're using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just make sure you're keeping your dexterity and your wisdom high. Hey, speaking of, what about dexterity? You can use it for certain swords, bows, and your AC, since heavy armor isn't generally your thing. Wisdom after that, you've got to be able to survive in any sort of timeline and animals like you. Constitution next, you're pretty tough and technically live even longer thanks to some weird timey-wimey Aku magicalness. Follow that up with strength. If you want your sword to be long, you'll need this for the attack and damage rolls, or at least you will early on. Charisma is on the lower end, your demeanor is rather stoic, but will dump intelligence. You're basically Encino Man, but in the future. I'm not sure why I'm expecting my audience to remember Encino Man, but yeah, it's kind of like that. Jack is a human, but like I mentioned earlier, your timeline got all messed up, so maybe rock an elf or something if you hate humans. If you're watching this video and you hate humans though, I've got some bad news for you. There are lots of humans outside. Lock your door, buddy. Variant humans get a feat of their choice. Defensive Duelist lets you add your proficiency bonus to your AC against one attack per round, as long as you're holding a finesse weapon in one hand, letting you block with your sword, something that you do quite often. It also kind of hints that you should probably call your sword a short sword, which deals 1d6 plus your dexterity modifier and damage. It's decent damage, but trust me, this build is going to be sending out a ton of hits per round. That's going to make up for the low die. Bump your dexterity and constitution with your 2 free points. Take stealth for your skill of choice and the folk hero background for survival and animal handling skills. You get kind of a reputation after all the time fighting Aku. Kick things off as a fighter, letting you grab 2 skills from the fighter list. Acrobatics and athletics should round out your physical skills. You get a fighting style. Duelist pairs well with defensive duelist, adding 2 to the damage of attacks you make with a one-handed weapon, as long as your other hand doesn't have a weapon in it. You also get second wind, letting you heal yourself 1d10 plus your fighter level as a bonus action once per short rest, letting you get yourself back in the fight a little bit faster. Second level fighters get action surge, letting you make an extra action once per short rest for a quick burst of samurai speed. Hey, speaking of samurai, third level fighters can choose a martial archetype, and the Arcane Archer is from Xanathar's Guide to Everything, the same book that introduces the samurai subclass, which will work much better for Jack. You get a bonus proficiency or an extra language, and honestly, I almost grabbed the linguist feat earlier. It's just not very good. So grab the extra language here, pick something up that seems useful for your campaign. Even though we dumped intelligence, you are a surprisingly cunning linguist. You can also use the Fighting Spirit ability 3 times per long rest, letting you spend a bonus action to give yourself advantage on all weapon attacks until the end of your turn, and 5 temporary HP, which scales up to 10 at the 10th level of Samurai and 15 at the 15th level of Samurai. Will we hit the 15th level of Samurai? Only one way to find out. And I don't mean skipping to the end of the video and coming back, even if that fits the show's time travel aesthetic. 4th level fighters get an ability score improvement. Bump your dexterity here for bigger hits, more accurate hits, better AC. Gosh darn it, dexterity is a really solid stat, almost as universally useful as constitution is. 5th level fighters get an extra attack, letting you attack twice instead of once as an action. Keep in mind, your fighting spirit gives you advantage on every attack you make this round, so you can pop that with your bonus action, then action surge, and get advantage on 4 attacks in one round. That's pretty huge at this level. But what good is that at defeating darkness if it's not a magical weapon? Well, we can take a brief detour to Cleric to get some magical attacks, specifically a War Domain Cleric. It might seem like a weird move, but you've got a sword crafted by 3 different gods from 3 different religions, so I don't think a little Divine Favor is too much of a stretch. Speaking of, that's one of your domain spells. Divine Favor adds a d4 of radiant damage to your weapon attacks for up to a minute, as long as you can keep your concentration up. Shield of Faith adds 2 to the AC of a creature of your choice for up to 10 minutes, depending on your concentration. If you want to get a little more defensive, Detect Evil and Good Good lets you sense aberrations, celestials, fiends, fae, elementals, and undead within 30 feet of you for up to 10 minutes depending on your concentration. I think Aku falls into the demon category, but if he doesn't, he's certainly one of the other ones. Once you know where he is, protection from evil and good will give those enemies disadvantage on attack rolls against a creature of your choice, and they won't be able to charm, possess, or frighten them. As a war domain cleric, you're also a war priest, letting you make another attack as a bonus action, an amount of times equal to your wisdom modifier per long rest for some samurai speed. Second level clerics can channel divinity once per short rest. All clerics get turned undead, forcing a wisdom saving throw on undead creatures within 30 feet of you. Failing it, they have to dash away with their action. Guided strike is the war cleric's specialty though, and it's a bit more in character. This lets you add 10 to one attack roll per long rest to make sure that you hit. Hitting is better than missing. Generally, like if you're trying to hit something. Third level clerics can learn second level spells. As a war cleric, you can get magical weapon, letting you make a weapon magical in terms of overcoming resistances and adding 1 to the attack and damage rolls for up to an hour depending on your concentration. Ideally, your DM will give you a magical weapon, but I'm not your DM, unless you're Kelsey, Allison, Shelby, or Bailey, in which case, hi, you all have magical weapons already unless you're a caster. Good luck with Talona. We'll do some more multi-classing here with a quick dip into Monk, giving us unarmored defense, making your AC 10 plus your dexterity and wisdom modifier. You're such a nimble gee wearing a nimble guy. Wait, I didn't say that right. You also get martial arts as long as you're keeping it light, letting you use your dexterity for your unarmed attacks that deal 1d4 damage, and you can make an unarmed attack as a bonus action after you attack with a monk weapon or an unarmed strike with your action. Again, short swords work for monk weapons, so this should work nicely, but it's worth mentioning that the new class feature variants on Earth Arcana opens the floor a bit for monk weapons, letting you use any weapon you have proficiency with as long as it isn't two-handed, heavy, or special. You can pick an amount equal to 5 plus your wisdom modifier, so maybe a long sword, a long bow. You kicked it off as a fighter, you've pretty much got every option you could ever want, and use your dexterity for that attack, then kick someone in the same combo. Back over to fighter now. 6th level fighters get an ability score improvement we can use to cap our dexterity for the ultimate mastery of the blade. Pairing it with your magical weapon from the gods, you'll be able to take on Aku, but maybe stick around for a couple more abilities, they could be helpful. 7th level samurai become elegant courtiers, giving you proficiency with wisdom saving throws and letting you add your wisdom modifier to your persuasion checks. Between this and the unarmored defense thing, you've got some good reasons to invest in your wisdom modifier. I wonder what we'll get with our next ability score improvement. Wonder no longer. 8th level fighters get an ability score improvement, and now we're going to invest in our wisdom score for better AC and persuasion checks. I actually really like how this works. It makes your friendships seem like they're coming from more of a place of mutual respect rather than a gift of gab. 9th level fighters get indomitable, letting you re-roll a failed saving throw once per long rest. Aku likes to push, pull, blast, and do all sorts of crazy things. This will get you ready for all of it. 10th level samurai get tireless spirit, letting you regain 1 use of fighting spirit if you roll initiative and don't have any. Big hint here, use them. Don't be stingy. The faster you kill a monster, the faster you can move on to the next one, and the less hits you and your buddies will have to endure. Do you want someone hitting the Scotsman? I don't think so. 11th level fighters get an extra attack, letting you make 3 attacks with your action now, not to mention a bonus action attack from War Priest or Martial Arts. Probably want to use the War Priest ones first since they're using that buffed magical weapon. You did remember to cast magical weapon, right? 12th level fighters get another ability score improvement, and more wisdom means another round of War Priest, more AC, better persuasion checks. It's a whole lot of good. Who knew mixing samurai skills and ninja skills would pair so well together? 13th level fighters get another use of Indomitable, which is another saving throw you get to gain advantage on thanks to your unrivaled tenacity. 14th level fighters can cap off their wisdom score. If you want inspiration to play a fighter, let this be it. You get so many ability score improvements, it can take basic abilities like unarmored defense from monk and do a better job of using them than the actual class you borrowed them from. 15th level samurai get rapid strike, meaning that you can take 1 attack per round that you have advantage on and turn it into 2 attacks without advantage. If only you had some way to give yourself advantage. Oh wait, yes you do. It's called fighting spirit, and you can use it 3 times per day. It's almost like these abilities were meant to work together or something. Weird. Our capstone is the 16th level of fighter with an ability score improvement, and there's a couple of places we could put it. If you hate being a dummy, you could take the negative modifier off of your intelligence. If you want to be better with big weapons that you can't turn monkey, go for strength. But I'm going to recommend more constitution for better HP and better constitution saves. You do have concentration spells, and it would be ideal if they lasted the full duration. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, you've got lots of attacks, ways to make your weapons magical, and methods of giving yourself advantage. You're also great up front with 20 AC standard, 26 when you use defensive duelist, well over 150 HP, and ways to recover HP or give yourself a little bit extra. Finally, you're pretty useful out of combat with great dexterity and wisdom skills, and your wisdom jumping in to basically give you a capped persuasion check as well. For weaknesses, your intelligence is really low. The fish out of water angle is all fun and games until somebody needs to make a history check. Speaking of saves, despite your persuasion skill, your charisma modifier could leave you getting plane shifted, or in your case, I guess time jumped without your permission. Finally, you do technically have a magical weapon with that spell, but if a couple of dispel magics get cast, suddenly you're fighting unfathomable evil with a big butter knife. But let's be honest, your DM's gonna give you a magical sword, and even if they don't, you've got 2 hours of magic sword to chop through an enemy with samurai speed. Just make sure that you befriend someone a little more up to date on current events. You're strong, but a little bit stuck in the past. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. We make 2 videos every week. Don't forget to vote in the poll as well. Vote for which Final Fantasy VII character you want to see. You can vote for Aerith, Tifa, or Barrett. Don't worry, Cloud is coming all on his own.